Before we get started with today's video, I've been given a list of official rules from the Chocolate Factory. Rule number 1, no running. Yeah, we're in my studio. I can run if I want to. Rule number 2, do not touch anything. Oops. Rule number 3, if something looks delicious, it probably is. Now that's a rule I can get behind. Rule number 4, expect the unexpected. I don't like that rule. You know what? Let's just start the review before something weird happens. Because when Willy Wonka's involved, it's probably going to. Roll the intro. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Big Screen Leap, the show where we take stories from words, pixels, and scripts and see how they land as Hollywood hits. I'm your host, William Redman. Today, we're diving into a world of pure imagination and maybe a little bit of candy-coated chaos. That's right, we're talking about the Roald Dahl 1964 book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and the 1971 film adaptation, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. One gave us a story about a magical chocolate factory, the other gave us a singing, slightly unhinged Gene Wilder. The book is a cautionary tale about bratty kids and a boy with a heart of gold. The movie gave us orange Oompa Loompas, creepy songs, and probably the craziest boat ride that we will ever see in cinema history. Basically, childhood dreams and childhood trauma all in the same package. With that said, let's dig in, grab your golden ticket, and let's start with the plot. No. I'm not doing the Johnny Depp version today. I'm just doing the book and the original movie. This is going to be a reoccurring thing today, isn't it? Joy. So, what's the story about? Charlie Bucket is a poor boy living with his parents and 4 bedridden grandparents in a ramshackle little house on the edge of town. They barely scrape by. Meals are basically cabbage soup every day, and chocolate is a once-a-year birthday treat. Charlie's whole world revolves around the idea of chocolate, even though he almost never gets it. Then, the big announcement drops. Willy Wonka, the reclusive genius behind the world's most magical candy factory, says he's hidden 5 golden tickets inside his chocolate bars. Whoever finds them gets a tour of his mysterious factory and a lifetime supply of chocolate. The whole world goes nuts. Candy sales skyrocket, newspapers obsess over it, and kids everywhere are tearing into bars hoping for a ticket. The tickets are found one by one, and we meet the cast of greedy brats. Augustus Gloop, the boy who just can't stop eating, Veruca Salt, the spoiled rich kid who demands everything, Violet Beauregard, the competitive gum chewer who wants to be the best at everything, Mike TV, obsessed with television and technology, and of course, Charlie, finds his ticket in the most heartbreaking way, buying 1 bar with the last bit of money his family has. Inside the factory, Wonka takes the children through a series of bizarre, almost dreamlike rooms, and they get to see things like a chocolate river, the invention room where Wonka experiments with things like hair toffee, a room with animals who are trained to check things out for the candy, and the TV room where Wonka shrinks large candy bars down to size. Each child's flaw, gluttony, pride, selfishness, and obsession is punished in comically exaggerated ways. Oompa Loompas, little factory workers, come out after each disaster to sing songs that are basically morality lessons wrapped in rhymes. In the end, only Charlie remains. Willy Wonka reveals the truth. The whole contest was about finding a worthy heir. Charlie's honesty, humility, and kindness win him not just candy, but the entire chocolate factory. The book ends with a wild scene of the great glass elevator blasting through the roof and carrying Charlie and his family into their new future. Now, onto the movie. The film follows the same skeleton of the story, but it fills out in a very different way. We still have Charlie living in poverty, dreaming of chocolate, and finding the golden ticket. We still meet Augustus, Veruca, Violet, and Mike in much of the same way, but the film chooses to spend more time setting up Charlie's life before he gets into the factory. We meet his mom, who, even though she was present in the book but didn't have any lines, she sings up a melancholy number called Cheer Up Charlie. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that this is a musical? Yes, around the whole thing, people are singing songs, and before we get into the factory, we get some pretty good ones, such as The Candyman and I've Got a Golden Ticket. We see Charlie selling newspapers and longing to be like other kids. This gives the movie a little more emotional weight. Once inside, we get possibly the biggest hit song of the whole movie, which is sung by Gene Wilder, called Pure Imagination. A lot of people would say that this cemented Gene Wilder's performance as something magical and a little unsettling. We go through a lot of the same places that we went in the book, like the Chocolate River, the Invention Room, and the TV room. Although, there are some scenes that were added to the movie, such as the boat scene and the Tunnel of Terror that nobody can ever forget. Each of the kids still meet the same doom that they had in the book, with a few differences that we'll get into later. The film also invents a whole new subplot. A mysterious man claiming to be a rival candy maker called Slugworth approaches each child before the tour, tempting them to steal one of Wonka's everlasting gobstoppers. In the climax, Charlie is the only one who refuses, handing the gobstopper back to Wonka, even after being yelled at and told he won nothing. That act of honesty is what proves to Wonka that Charlie is worthy of the factory. Our movie ends with Wonka, Charlie, and Grandpa Joe riding in the glass elevator where Wonka says his famous line from the movie.
But Charlie, don't forget what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted.
What happened?
He lived happily ever after.
And credits roll. So how did we get from a book that tortures children to see who earns a chocolate factory to a movie that shows the same thing? Well, let's get into the productions, starting with the book. So Roald Dahl wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Book! I'm covering the book now. In 1964, his inspiration came from his own childhood, when chocolate companies like Cadbury and Roundtree would send test samples to kids at school to try out. Imagine being a kid and literally being a taste tester for new candy bars. That's something that stuck with him. Dahl loved combining whimsy with dark edges, and this book is a perfect example of that. In earlier drafts, he actually had a lot more kids going into the factory and facing worse fates. However, he decided to trim it down to 5 to keep the story sharper. The book was an instant hit, though not without facing some criticism. The original description of Oompa Loompas as African pygmies was accused of being racist, leading Dahl to later revise them into more fantastical creatures. That controversy shaped how the story would be later adapted onto the screen. But what's the story about the movie? Let's unwrap that and find out. So here's where things get weird. The 1971 movie exists because of Quaker Oats. That's right, the cereal company. They wanted to launch a new candy bar called the Willy Wonka bar, so they financed a movie that would double as advertising. The director, Mel Stewart, didn't want to make a straight kiddie flick. He pushed for something with a weird, unsettling undertone. That's why the movie feels like it keeps one foot in childhood fantasy, the other is psychological horror. Gene Wilder was cast as Wonka after insisting on making his first entrance with a limp and a fake stumble, only to sprint into a somersault. He said he wanted the audience never to know if Wonka was lying or telling the truth. That move defined the whole character. But not everybody was actually happy with this movie. Roald Dahl actually hated this movie. For one, he didn't like that the scriptwriter included the Gobstopper and the Slugworth subplot into it. For two, he hated Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, and he wanted Spike Milligan. Dahl even refused to let Hollywood adapt the sequel, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. So despite being disowned by the original author, does the movie capture the spirit of the book, or is it just a rotten tooth from start to finish? With that said, let's get into the similarities and find out. So, the similarities are pretty close when you look at them side by side. First off, the competition is pretty much the same between the two, where kids throughout the world have to find one of 5 golden tickets in order to gain entry to the factory. A lot of the setting between the factories are similar. We get the chocolate river, we get the invention room, and we get the TV room. The Oompa Loompas are pretty similar, as they are the moral commentators after each child's downfall. Finally, the endings are the same, where Charlie comes out victorious as the kind, honest kid who proves himself worthy of the factory. And both stories end with the elevator scene, although the movie adds a little extra line at the end. What about those differences? For starters, the tone is different between the two, where the book is a dark, funny morality tale. The movie is a musical with surreal, even creepy vibes. Some things that were put into the movie that didn't happen in the book, such as introducing the character of Slugworth and introducing the everlasting gobstopper test to the kids. Both of those inventions of the movie, but not in the book. Although the Oompa Loompas were similar in how they addressed the story, their looks are completely different. The ones in the book look like they were brought from a distant jungle. In the film, they redesigned them as fancy creatures with orange skin and green hair. One change that was made from the book to the movie is Veruca's fate. In the book, they go into a room where squirrels are separating out good nuts from bad nuts, and in the movie, they come into a room where giant geese are laying golden eggs that get put into a machine that determines whether they're a good egg or a bad egg. Both scenes are similar, with squirrels picking Veruca out as a bad nut in the book and throwing her down a garbage chute. In the movie, though, Veruca, after singing a song, stands on top of the weighing machine, which judges her as a bad egg and sends her down to an incinerator. These changes, while not bad, definitely add a different tone to both the book and movie. So at the end of the working day, was it worth it for this book to become a movie, or was it a bad egg that needed to go to the incinerator? Honestly, even though the original author didn't enjoy the book, it has a cult following. And for me, as a kid, seeing the movie before finding out it was a book, it was definitely worth the leap, in my opinion. The book gives us Dahl's vision, dark, strange, and has Charlie as the humble hero. The movie takes that framework and turns it into something more whimsical, more unsettling, and more musical. It's not a faithful adaptation, but it becomes iconic in its own right. So was the leap worth it? Absolutely. The book is a chocolate bar. Sweet, rich, and a little bit bitter. But the movie? It's an everlasting gobstopper. Colorful, bizarre, and stuck in pop culture forever. Roald Dahl may have hated it, but the audiences embraced it. And Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka? He's unforgettable. Equal parts dreamer and trickster. We've seen other people try to recreate Wonka in their own way. Alright, we get it! But no one has come close. With that said, Gene Wilder's version is always a timeless classic that I don't think anybody will forget for a very long time. But that's all the time that we have for today. Do you agree with Dahl? Do you enjoy the book more or the movie? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video you saw today, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you're notified next time we post a video. Until next time, from page to screen and everything in between, this has been The Big Screen Leap. And remember, a little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men. Bye, everyone. Oh, good. You're still here. Hey, real quick, just wanted to come on here and give another reminder that there will not be a new episode of Big Screen Leap next week. We're going to be out of town filming for a new show, something that we've been wanting to do for a while. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that because I promise It's going to be magical. When we come back, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled episodes of Big Screen Leap, and hopefully posting a new show at the same time. Bye, everyone.